Let me thank the members of the press for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I'm standing here before you today as a proud American who loves his country, but who is saddened by circumstances that currently exist. I'm also standing here today to deliver a message that I will deliver without notes. And I'm delivering this message without notes because I've been preparing for this moment in time all of my life. I know what bigotry and racism looks like. I know what bigotry and racism is. I know what it looks like because the Klan burned a cross on my property. I know what it smells like because I was born at a time when I had to go into filthy, colored restrooms. I know what it tastes like because I have had food served to me that was unacceptable, and other persons would not have been served such food that I received at the back door of a restaurant. I know how racism can impact a society because I had to ride the back of the bus. I had to sit in the balcony of the movie. I had to stand in line, and if a person of a different hue came, that person was allowed to move ahead of me in line. And it continued until all persons of that hue were served. So I know what it looks like. I know what it sounds like because I've heard people use the N-word, and they were referring to me. I know what it looks like. I know what it sounds like. I know what it smells like. I know what it tastes like. So I'm here today to tell you, as a person who understands bigotry, racism, hatred, that we have a president who is a bigot. This president has made insightful statements that are hurtful and harmful to this country and to our moral standing in the world. I regret to say the words that I have to say, but the truth must be told. I know that there are persons who would prefer that a congressperson never say that the president is a bigot. It's all right for a news commentator to say it. It's all right for persons who are working in other capacities to say it, but we don't want to hear this from a member of Congress. But we have to be truthful about what is taking place in our country, and we have elected a bigot as president. So the question really isn't so much what do we have as a president, who do we have as a president? The question really is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about the fact that we have a president in the White House who has on many occasions made comments that had racist and bigoted overtones? What are we going to do about it? This is not the very first comment that the president has made of this type. I've cited many of them and cited them in articles of impeachment. The question is, what will we do about it? Will we but only talk about it? Talk is cheap. In Congress is how we vote that counts. And I'm talking about process now. I'm talking about the process that we've established in a democratic society. It's how we vote that counts. It is how we reflect our will in Congress that counts by way of our votes. So I'm here today to say to the public, the American public, that I, as a person of good conscience, a person who loves his country, will not sit by when Article 2, Section 4 of the United States Constitution has provided a remedy for what is taking place right now in the Congress of the United States of America by way of our being a part of the government and by way of the government consisting of not only the Congress but also the presidency. So what's taking place in Washington, D.C. in the White House? I'm here to tell you that the remedy has been accorded us, and it is impeachment. That is the remedy for what we seek to do. Now, other things can be done, and I won't fault anybody for doing something else. But for those of us who want to remedy this circumstance, we understand that impeachment is the means, the methodology, if you will, by which it can be done. So I want to announce to the world, not just to the people in this country, but to the world. And to the world because the world is watching. The world knows that the soul of America is at a crossroads. And the world understands that the action that we take can have an impact not only on the United States of America, but the globe. So I'm saying to the world today, to every person in every nook and cranny of this country and across the globe, that there will be articles of impeachment brought against the President of the United States of America next week. That these articles of impeachment will afford all 435 members of the House to vote. I will vote to move impeachment forward. There will be some who may vote to table. There may be some who may vote present. There may be some who will vote not vote at all. How people will vote is a question of conscience for them. I will not lobby and ask one person to vote a certain way, but what I will say is this. We will vote. History will be the great judge. Time will tell. The truth will be known. I'm going to be on the right side of history. This is the week that we are currently engaged in the celebration of Dr. King's birth. And I want to, as I close, remind us that Dr. King wrote his letter from the Birmingham jail in 1963 as a response to 8 members of the clergy, all of whom were upstanding, outstanding citizens, all of whom were said to be beyond reproach, all of whom thought that they were doing the right thing. But Dr. King decided he would do the righteous thing. And these members of the clergy thought that what Dr. King was doing wasn't timely, and they so much as said so. But Dr. King has always reminded us that the time to do the right thing is right now, that the time is always right to do that which is right, paraphrasing him. Dr. King, in addressing these members of the clergy, reminded them that they were a part of that class of people, the moderates, those who were doing quite well, if you will, didn't say it in these words, but that their silence on the issue that caused the suffering in Birmingham, that their silence was contributing to that suffering. I will not be silent. I will not be silenced. I will speak up and speak out, and there will be articles of impeachment brought before the House of Representatives next week in the Congress of the United States of America. I welcome your questions.
Congressman, can you explain why you think this is important? Why do you think it would be harmful to the United States to keep President Trump in office?
Because the president's words are insightful. When the president indicated that there were some good people among those persons in Charlottesville, persons who were saying Jews will not replace us, members of the KKK, persons who identify with white supremacy, when he said that there were some good people among them, he legitimized in their minds some of their actions and their behavior. And many of those persons went back to their various walks of life. And when they went back to these various walks of life, they encountered persons of color. Some of them may have worked in restaurants. One can only imagine what was going into the food of persons of color who were served by these persons. Some of them may have been bankers. One can only imagine what the loan application received by way of its treatment and examination if you happen to be a person who was Jewish and it was discovered that you were. So they went back to their everyday lives, and when they went back to their everyday lives, in their everyday lives they realized that to them, the President of the United States had legitimized them. Hence, their behavior was legitimized, and people are suffering. When the President said that those who are members of the LGBTQ community would be removed from the military, he sent a message to persons who were employers across the length and breadth of this country that if you have an LGBTQ person working for you, you may decide that you want to terminate that person, and that's the way it was received by many persons. So they decided if the president can remove LGBTQ persons from the military, surely I can fire an LGBTQ person from the job that he or she might have with me. When the president made those comments about persons who played football, professional players, But when he called them SOBs, he was referring to their mothers as dogs because the B in SOB is a dog. The president was calling their mothers dogs. When he did that, he sent a signal to people that you can say things that are ugly about persons who happen to be of color and whose mothers may be of color. He legitimizes some of the behavior that we see with his ugly commentary. And finally this, when the president says that a certain continent is, I never use profanity. I consider this profane. But when he says what he said, he then demeans not only the people who live on that continent, but he demeans the descendants of those people in the diaspora, wherever they may be, wherever they may be. And as a result of this, that creates an attitude among certain people about the people the president demeans. And that can cause them harm. But finally, of the final things, the president also causes us to lose our moral standing in the world. Our moral authority is being eroded because the president is a bigot and because he will not cease and desist. Those who believe that he's going to change, I regret to inform you, dear friends, he has had more than a year, and he has not. And as a result, the change is really one of removing this president from office by way of impeachment. The next question, please.
Congressman, can you tell me if this is a formality, or do you think it really is realistic that President Trump could be impeached and removed from office?
Well, I'll tell you what I am sure Rosa Parks considered when she took that seat on the bus. I don't think Rosa Parks thought that she was going to end invidious discrimination that night, but she knew that this was the right thing to do, and she did it. I think that when Dr. King went to jail, he did not assume that all would be well when he exited that cell. But he knew that as a part of a just cause, you do the right thing. In fact, you do the righteous thing. So we are called upon to do that which is right. And when we do this, we will have advanced the cause of justice and the cause of freedom. I don't know who's going to vote with or against this resolution. I just know that I'm going to put a righteous resolution before the Congress of the United States of America. The Constitution says we can do it. The framers of the Constitution thought that this was the remedy. I will present the remedy and give my colleagues an opportunity to vote their consciences and their convictions. History will judge us all. Time will tell. The truth will be known.
Is this your second attempt at impeachment?
This is my second attempt to bring impeachment. I brought it before, so it really wasn't an attempt. We now know that we can impeach a president for words that are harmful and hateful. We can impeach him for his bigotry. We now know that it can be done. The question is not whether it can be done, but whether it will be done. That's the question that we will have to grapple with, whether it will be done. We now know, as a result of the last impeachment, which had 58 persons, there are some who said we had 57 more than they thought we'd get, nearly a third of the Democratic caucus. I'm not counting the votes. What I'm counting on is a righteous resolution being presented so that people can make their own decisions about what will happen. And for those who assume that the criticisms that I may receive and all of the ugly and hateful comments that I may receive will deter me, you are absolutely, totally, and completely incorrect. You are. I will not be deterred. I know that I'm right. And the people who are going to properly judge us, they may not have been born yet. History will judge us. And I will also say this to those bigots who have made these threats, such that I now have to have a police officer in my office whenever it's open, and have to have security. I just want you to know this. Your threats will not deter me one bit, because Dr. King was right. Any man who hasn't found something worth dying for isn't fit to live. I live today to see the day that we will end this hatred and this bigotry emanating from the presidency. The next question, please. All right, dear friends, if you have no additional questions, let me just close with this. Dr. King, whom I admire greatly and quote quite regularly, also reminded us of one of the things that he is most often quoted for, and that is, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we allow injustice to emanate from the White House, that injustice will eventually impact your house. It will impact the State House. It'll impact the House of Representatives. No house is safe when injustice emanates from the White House. The articles of impeachment will deal with the injustice that is emanating from the presidency seated in the White House. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be heard.